Hello and welcome to Odds-On Europa League Conference League Semifinals. 4 games to analyze here. We have Leverkusen and Olympiacos with one leg in the final, but the other team is going to be a big question mark. Perhaps even Aston Villa can make a comeback in Athens. Who knows? It's very difficult for Roma. We have Daniele Fisichella, we have Alvaro Romeo with us to analyze these 4 games. We have already some questions here in the chat, so of course leave your comments. Tell us your favorites for these 2 finals in European soil, and don't forget, press the like, subscribe, and now let's go on with the show. Well, the first game, Atalanta-Marseille, we saw, remember, a 1-1 at the Velodrome. So Atalanta are favorites to reach the very first European final of their history. Gasperini is the hero, the architecture of this team. We have already some comments about Atalanta, headache for back. Steve, he's telling us he's playing on Monday their Serie A game against Salernitana, important one because they could challenge Roma's 5th spot, but fully focused on this game. I guess Atalanta, they are favorites because Olympique Marseille form is been terrible in the last 2 months. It's only 2 wins in the last 10 games. They got a bad result at home. I guess we all agree that that 1-1 is a bad result at home. In the last 2 ties, they lost their away game against Benfica and against Villarreal. So, Danny, everything points to Atalanta winning here.
But careful, because Olympique Marseille showed they are a very tough team, a young team that plays with courage and had good chances at home. But I do agree with your reasoning. If their home form has been so strong, they only lost 1 game at home so far this season, and their away form has been very poor for Marseille, 12 defeats in all competition, then they should have done more at home, but it's easily said than done, especially against this Atalanta. But I was impressed with the way they reacted, because after Scamacca scored and Atalanta took the lead, the environment could have gone a little bit flat. They could have lost a little bit of confidence. You know, this is a Marseille team that has changed 3 managers this season, and even under Gasset, they haven't dramatically improved. They're probably going to finish outside of the top 6 in France, but actually they reacted well, scored, got a goal disallowed, hit the post. So, you know, it's really a game on for Atalanta. But yes, of course, away from home, Marseille have been terrible. They will be penultimate in League One, 17th, based only on the away form. You mentioned the defeats to Villarreal, to Benfica, has only won 1 in 6 away games in Europe, 2-0 against ACCA, were defeated by Brighton in a decisive match to see who was going to finish first or second. So yes, away from home, really, they underperformed. But they're going to be rested. They're going to be more fresh. And we said that in the video in the Champions League. In France, there's been no games this weekend because of the commemoration of the victims of the Stade Armand Cesari disaster in 1992 when Bastia played Olympique Marseille. 18 people were killed. So the French authorities decided never to play on the 5th of May anymore. By chance, it happened to be a weekend. So obviously the French side have got that advantage also. The French league this season went down from 20 teams to 18 teams. Maybe this helps them as well toward the later stage of the season. But Atalanta probably at the moment one of the most informed teams in Italy. They had probably the last chance of the game at the Velodrome with Miranchuk. Started the game well. Scamacca 8 goals in the last 11th. They will be confident also because they recently won another semi-final in the Coppa Italia against Fiorentina, but need a calm approach. They've never been in a European final. The environment is going to be buzzing, but Atalanta needs to really manage the game, knowing they are stronger at home, of course, knowing they got a lot of options up front, but they cannot just go gung-ho. I think this is going to be tight possibly a draw here. I love the Asian handicap plus 0.25 for Marseille in the first half, 195. I think there are high chances you're only going to win half a stake this one. I think the first half is a draw.
We saw a lot of under also in Atalanta's games at home in this Europa League. We have the two of the three best scorers in this competition. Aubameyang, 10 goals. Scamacca, 6 goals. For instance, Back is backing Scamacca to score. In this game, could be another cagey one, Alvaro, or with this firepower that I just mentioned, you can expect goals.
No. I believe there will be goals here. That's my take, at least. We have seen a rather entertaining Europa League. The overall average has been over 2.5 goals in the competition. And, I'm totally aware of the problems and the frailties of Olympique Marseille away from home. It's a very strange team, by the way, because it's a team of strikes. If you look at their raw numbers, I mean, right now they are 5 games unbeaten. Before that run, they lost 5 in a row. And before that run, they won 5 in a row. So they are a team of runs. And, if they keep on going like this, but it's working for them in the Europa League, that's unquestionable. It's true that they got only 1 win away in Europe this season, but it's also true that they had a very difficult group stage. Probably they will try to make Aubameyang's speed count in the counter-attacks. And right now they are scoring because they have scored at least a goal in the last 7 fixtures in all competitions. The goal they scored against Atalanta in the first leg was a beautiful shot from Mbemba. I loved it, very similar to Andrich's goal for Bayer Leverkusen. When it comes to Atalanta, I believe that they are going to score because they are only scoreless at home this season in 2 games at home. It was against Juventus and against Liverpool, but against Liverpool they didn't need desperately to score. Otherwise, I believe that they could have scored if they really had to. And what a run from Scamacca. I mean, the other day I was thinking that there are players like Scamacca, for example, like Henrik Mkhitaryan, like Romelu Lukaku, Aubameyang, who have been terrific this season. Look at Lukaku, look at Scamacca, look at Aubameyang. They are all at the top of the Europa League scoring charts, which makes me think that failing in the Premier League doesn't necessarily make you a worse player. I believe that the Premier League has a certain style. It's very vibrant. It's very box-to-box. Sometimes it's too physical for a few players. But you not succeeding in the Premier League doesn't make you a worse player. Scamacca is not a worse player because he didn't make it in the West Ham United shirt. I think that Scamacca is a very good footballer. And in the context of Italian football or Spanish football or French football, he will be terrific. And he is terrific. So not necessarily not making it in the Premier League makes you a worse footballer. And we have seen that with many players lately. I'm going to go for both teams to score for the reasons I said before. Atalanta has been scoreless at home only twice this season, and Olympique Marseille has scored in the last 7.
Which team do you see in the final? Options for Marseille, Danny said. Alvaro, in your opinion as well, is it still open?
And it's open, but it's still a little bit more favorite Atalanta, of course. But I'm more than happy to take the both teams to score thing and wait.
Well, Marcel, Genep is telling us, a very unstable club, 3 managers, a lot of problems with the president, with the fans, and they are able to do absolutely everything. They are European pedigree. Atalanta looking for their first European final. The club has been growing a lot in recent years. Not a long time ago, Danny, they were fighting to avoid relegation. Now with Gasperini, they are only looking to European spots. And
Gasperini probably is going to renew his contract, stay a little bit longer. He's done a magnificent work there. And they got a very strong ethos, some values that they always respect, grow talent, sell them, buy the new one, invest them, but, never recess from the way they play, the style of play, playing on the front foot, trying different solutions up front. And they pride themselves on this high energy, high intensity football. And I think is the most similar to Premier League football in Italy is Atalanta. And they do it time and time again in the season. So hopefully they can get to the final and get some recognition in that regards.
Well, they beat the biggest favorites in the competition, Liverpool, in the previous round. Now they are very close. I'm sure Bergamo is going to be on fire on Thursday. And it's going to be very difficult to see an all-Italian final in Dublin because at the same time we have Bayer Leverkusen. Roma. It's almost impossible for Roma to make a comeback in the Bay Arena. 2-0, remember, for Xabi Alonso's men at the Olympico. The first goal was a huge mistake by Roma defense, and then Leverkusen took control. They got another great result this weekend in the Bundesliga. They are only 2 games away to finish unbeaten, without a defeat in the Bundesliga. The thing also, Alvaro, is that Roma, they are not in great form lately. They drew against Juve. It's only 1 win in the last 5 games. And away from home in Europe, they are not good. Only 2 wins away this season was in Milan and against Sheriff Tiraspol. Even in the great run they had last season, it's a team that suffer when they play away from home, and it's going to be, as I said, almost impossible for Roma here.
Very difficult because Bayer Leverkusen is in a mission not to lose a football game. Yeah. And I think that this is very important. They are taking this very seriously. After winning the title, I thought that perhaps they were going to loosen up a little bit in the Bundesliga, and it hasn't been the case. In fact, they beat Eintracht Frankfurt 5-1 in the weekend as well. Bayer Leverkusen really wants to finish the season unbeaten, and they've been 45 games without a loss. I take everything you say about Roma. I still believe that Roma has been a fine side this season, that in the Olympico they weren't terrible against Leverkusen. They just played against a better side. I mean, Bayer Leverkusen, they have been dominant everywhere. I mean, the other day I was watching them again, and it's not only the variety of different attacking patterns they've got. Okay, they can play low, they can play from the middle, they can play from the wings. Everything is likable about them, but the passing triangles in midfield are as deadly as those that Barcelona made a decade ago. And normally the end of those passing triangles is not a pass back, it's a pass forward. So they've got this verticality that makes them really, really interesting. And then Grimaldo and Frimpong make things happen on the wing. And Andrich and Saka, they've got a powerful presence. They can shoot from the distance. In midfield, they never lose the plot because the defenders and the holding midfielders, they play so together. It's impossible to go through that block. So Leverkusen is a terrific side. And, I'm going to back them here to win 160, even though if you think that the draw is good for them and you believe that they are not going to lose, but on the other hand, they don't need to push a lot for the win, then why not to go for over 2.5 goals? 175. I think that both sides have a lot of quality up front. Roma will have to attack. They've got a player like Lukaku, for example, Dybala. They've got the quality, but Leverkusen on the break can destroy you. And if Frimpong will be a little bit more clinical, Bayer Leverkusen would have scored 7 or 8 goals more this season. So, I'm going to go for that. Over 2.5 goals, 175.
Okay, the under pays 2.2, by the way. Genepi, Mustafa is telling us Alonso to be manager of the year. I think that's for sure.
Yes, that's given already, yes.
It's for the Guinness record, very close to finish the season undefeated. Danny, the threat could be Lukaku. He scored at the weekend. He's scoring in Europa, in the Europa League, 7 goals so far in this competition. I guess even the most of the optimistic of Roma fans don't think this is going to change a lot.
Well, as the famous quote of the Sergio Leone film, A Fistful of Dollars, goes, when a man with a gun meets a man with a rifle, the man with the gun is dead. And on Thursday, Leverkusen had the rifle and Roma had the gun. That means that Roma did everything they could possibly do. They didn't play badly. They actually started the game well, but Leverkusen, as Alvaro explained, were technically better. tactically better set up with a false nine and Wirtz pulling Smalling all over the pitch, and Frimpong and Adli making the damage in the middle of the pitch. But then he takes the second goal. Andrik, who's not a great scorer, but certainly a scorer of great goals, he's very confident to hit a ball from 25 meters and put it in the top corner. That tells you everything is going the way. Unbeaten at the weekend, 48 games unbeaten, so equal the record of Benfica between 63 and 65. One more game, and they will be into eternity, into legendary status. In England, we never hear the end of the unbeatable, the invincible Arsenal. Well, this is much, much better, of course, from Bayer Leverkusen, and I don't think they're going to stumble in front of the home crowd. The mission for Roma, it's beyond Mission Impossible. I don't know which movie we went to Mission Impossible, if we are 6, 7, 8, I don't know. But this is going to be Mission Impossible 210, because Bayer Leverkusen has only failed to score once this season. So Roma, to take the game into extra time, they will need at least 3 goals against the German champions, a team that, as you mentioned, Edu, has struggled away from home, has only kept 6 clean sheets away from home all season. Roma look a little bit tired, look a little bit laggy, because of course making up all that ground in the league and having to recover points makes you tired. But De Rossi believes in the remontada. That's why he made a lot of changes at the weekend against Juventus, played a complete different back four, took Dybala off after 45 minutes. Could have lost Roma, to be fair, against Juve. It was a game finished 1-1, but could have won in the end as well with Tammy Abraham, who missed a sitter. But game of many chances, and I think Roma at the moment are going through more nerves than energies. The nervous energy that really tells it. I think they are on the last leg, really. I I can't oppose a team that has scored 133 goals so far this season, Bayer Leverkusen. But the game was open at the end of the day. Abraham should have scored, really. Maybe 2-1 could have made it more interesting. Look, for me, it's a both team to score. 183, I think Leverkusen wins it, this one. But Roma going to get a goal. 2-1, 3-1 for Leverkusen. Both team to score seems a great value.
Well, they have to try. You both are going for goals. I think it's very logical. Also, Roma had a lot of firepower. By the way, the goalkeeper is Villar, even in the Serie A game against Juve, was great, but he couldn't do anything in the Leverkusen goals. At the Olympico, by the way, at the weekend, we have Atalanta-Roma. Daniele Fisichella will analyze it in our Serie A video, but very important, of course, for the Champions League fight in the Serie A, with taking a lot of energy, especially from Roma, this fight to get into the Champions League. Anyway, great job to Daniele De Rossi. Well, this is the Europa League. Leverkusen against Atalanta, against Olympique Marseille. Also quite open, the other European competition that we are going to analyze. Conference League, we saw great semifinals with a lot of goals. The first game we are going to analyze is Brugge Fiorentina. Fiorentina won 3-2 thanks to the goal scored in the last minutes by Enzola. Brugge, remember, top of the Belgian league, won the last 4 games at home in the conference. PAOK, Molde, Bodo Glimt and Lugano. Fiorentina experts in these knockout games, even if they are not getting great results lately in Italy as well. Danny, this is a very Italian show with a lot of Italian teams in them. Full power to the Viola, full trust to the Viola.
And UEFA needs to say thank you to Jose Mourinho, because in the first edition of the Conference League, Roma take it so seriously, did it so well, won it, celebrated widely, and now everyone wants to win the Conference League.
Do you really think that this competition is important for Mourinho, or is that a joke?
It's massive for Mourinho. This competition is massive.
But do you think that this competition is important thanks to Jose Mourinho?
Yeah, I think so as well. I think to the fact that they won it.
Why not? And Tom Redding is a big fan of
the fact that, look, first title.
Let it sink. No, thanks for Mourinho for the Conference League.
Well, thanks to UEFA for making the Conference League, and thanks to Roma, managed by Mourinho, for winning it in that style, and the competition out of a sudden becomes much more important for everyone, and they are taking it very seriously.
They are taking it very
Feyenoord
seriously.
had
That's
won it,
true,
it would be less
Eh?
important in the first year.
What?
If Feyenoord had won it the
Yeah.
first year, it would be less important.
Yes. I believe
That is
so.
very
I'm
Italo-centric.
sure it's very important for the 4 teams that are in this semi-final.
It's
They are all
massive for
taking
I think who wins in the first one
competition.
makes it more important.
Exactly.
Nothing to take away from Arne's lot, okay? But I think the fact that more anyway, Fiorentina. I think they deserved a little bit more. They deserve to win by a larger margin, but they always make the same mistakes. Always follow the same script, the games. They need an awful lot of shots to score. They took 31 shots against Bruges in the first leg. They could have scored more, but then it's criminal the way they concede the second goal with a man playing 11v10 and they conceded on the break. Look, I've seen Fiorentina conceding that kind of goals 15, 20 times in the last 2-3 seasons against teams under Vincenzo Italiano. In Italy, they nickname him not Vincenzo Italiano, Vincenzo Iraniano, Vincenzo Iranian, because he's a little bit of a fundamentalist in terms of football. He could become a little bit stuck on, with nothing to take away, of course, from our Iranian friends, but we know what I mean. A lot of rotations at the weekend for Fiorentina. 10 changes against Verona. They play almost for nothing, lost 2-1, almost no time to prepare the game because this game now is being played on Wednesday, so even a quicker turnaround. Fiorentina need to be worried because they don't keep many clean sheets, only 6 away clean sheets in total this season away from home, 11 away defeats, and they play against a team that is full of confidence, only lost 1 game in the last 10, the rest have been wins. They demonstrate they got firepower. Jutgla, for example, missed that sitter just before the Odenika was sent off, and then the 2-2, etc. Thiago scored 28 goals. Van Aken is in form, is very experienced. Scovolsen is back and scored. We saw him at Bologna. He's a good player as well. Brugge home are good. Only lost once at home this season. Only failed to score once in the derby against Cercle Bruges, whereas away from home they lost 10 away games. So you think they done half of the job because they only kept the deficit to 1 goal. It's gonna be difficult for me for Fiorentina. Fiorentina can lose against anybody for sure. I think it's gonna be a both team to score 180.
Perhaps going for some kind of Asian handicap, no, for Bruges, because they are really the underdog according to the odds, or for goals. Alvaro, is also your take.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for goals because the last time that they didn't score at home this season was the only time. It happened
Actually,
in
by the
November.
way, Bruges, we are seeing in the screen 4.8, but it's like 2.6, 2.8, as Genepi is telling us.
Yes.
So I was also surprised to see these really high odds for Bruges. You are completely right. Genepi on Otspedia, I can see right now 2.75 for Bruges to win, and Fiorentina to win is 2.83. So the odds are really, really balanced.
Yeah, I would say it's reasonable, really, because
I
think Bruce put a proper fight against Fiorentina. Still, I think both teams to score is my favorite here, 180, because as I said before, Bruce has been only scoreless at home this season in 1 game, and Fiorentina's scoring abilities, we know them. At the end of the day, they scored and they can score from inside the box. Sotil's goal the other day tells me that he can be a really good scorer. By the way, the goal of Sotil is the kind of goal that we see in the 21st century a lot. In the same way that the goal of Vinicius against Bayern the other day is a very proper 90s goal. This one is the proper 2000s goal, like a winger, right-footed, playing on the left, scoring that beautiful shot. And, I think that both teams have the danger, really. For Bruce, it's the first European semi-final in 32 years. They'll be oozing to play this game. I know that they've got 2 players who are the most dangerous of all of them, Van Aken and Thiago, and both scored the other day. It's a shame that Onyedika, he's not going to be available for this game because he was sent off. But on the other hand, despite being reduced to 1 man, Bruce stayed competitive, scored the goal after that. They only end up losing the game in the aggregate. And, the game could have been much worse for Bruce, and they stayed in the game despite being reduced to 1 man, that inferiority numerically. So, yeah, I think both teams to score is a good one here, 180.
What a run for Bruges. Last season, they qualified for the knockout stages in the Champions League. We saw them playing against Man City, and this season playing the conference semi-final. They dominated their group with Besiktas, Lugano, and Bodo Glimt, and now they are very close to the European final. Let's see if it's Bruges or Fiorentina. Plenty of goals in the first leg. Perhaps also we see a lot of goals. And we have the biggest surprise of the European games, I would say. Olympiacos, Aston Villa. Who would have expected Olympiacos scoring 4 in Villa Park? Now they are very close to the final, but everything is a mystery in the club Olympiacos. Alvaro knows it very well. They are 4th in the Greek league. We saw them in this very same competition, losing at home 4-1 against Maccabi Tel Aviv, and then winning in the extra time, but 6-1 against the Israeli team. In the last 2 rounds, they qualified in penalties, in extra time. So everything is about passion. We saw El Cavi scoring a hat-trick. We have Mendilibar or Vicente Iborra in the team of Olympiacos. But you mentioned earlier, Alvaro, in our Champions League video, that perhaps this is not over, that Aston Villa could have a chance with the away goal rule taken away. Do you suffer for Olympiacos? Do you fear for them?
I think my identification is bigger with Mendilibar than with Olympiacos. Okay, let's settle that, because Mendilibar is from Bilbao, well, from Biscay at the end of the day, from Zaldivar, and I would find it tremendously surprising and lovely in a way that a manager who, was the manager of Eibar 4 or 5 years ago, wins 2 European trophies back to back. Imagine that. Who would have told Mendilibar 5 years ago that you can win back to back Europe?
Probably the Conference League is going to be even more prestigious next season if Mendilibar is able to live the trophy.
Of course, in the Basque Country for sure.
In the Basque Country for sure.
They'll sell the T-shirt and everything.
Look, I tell you something about Mendilibar. I think that the best thing that his teams do is the pressure up front. The other day when I saw El Cavi just commanded that pressure up front against Aston Villa, I remember Eibar with the likes of Sergi Enrich, Quique Garcia commanding the pressure, and I was like, I've seen this team play, because Eibar pressed very similarly up front. I think that Olympiacos are going to find it difficult. Aston Villa is going to put a performance there. I'm pretty sure about that. But for Olympiacos, this game is massive. Remember that Marinakis went down onto the pitch at Villa Park just to say hi to the fans after the performance, 4-2 for them. Olympiacos lately has been a little bit of a pest for English sides. I remember Borley was beaten by them in the Europa League playoffs like 7 years ago. Then they beat Arsenal before the pandemic, right before the lockdown. Then they beat Aston Villa the other day. They capitalized the other day a few mistakes from Aston Villa. El Cavi was fantastic, scoring 3 goals. I believe that the goalkeeper Cholakis is kind of a guarantee as well at the back. Podensky's speed is very good as well. And Aston Villa, they have collapsed a little bit in the worst moment of the season. Still, they have the time to make amendments because they are going to qualify for the Champions League. They only need 3 points to qualify for the Champions League. And here they have to beat Olympiacos. They are very lucky, as I said before, because the stripping of the away rule helps Aston Villa, enhances their options immensely. With the 2-0, they are in. With the 2-0 and the previous away goal rule, they will be out. So, I really want to see what happens. I thought that Aston Villa was going to have a second half of quality against Olympiacos the other day, especially when the Oli Watkins scored at the brink of the halftime, but that didn't happen. And I'm going to go here for the most obvious one, both teams to score. Still not good enough, probably, unless you are looking for a very safe bet, 153. I'm going to go for over 1.5 goals in the second half. 178. I believe that goals will happen in this game. And then let's see what happens overall. I still believe that Aston Villa has a chance, but I'm not ready to back them, really, neither to back Olympiacos. I think that the goals market is my favorite, especially in the second half.
Well, over 3 goals is around 2.0. Ayoub El Kabi is the top scorer of this competition with 8 goals, together with Eran Sahabi. Danny, options for Aston Villa, plenty of goals. Martinez is back as a goalie for Aston Villa.
Yeah, very important.
Important.
Look, it could be massive.
Especially if there are penalties.
Of course. Olympiacos scored 4 goals at Villa Park with 5 shots on target. So this could happen to Villa easily. This could happen to Villa, and Villa could score 3 or 4 in Greece. However, the win from Olympiacos was not a lucky win, was not a fluke. They look very organized, very assured. And Villa dominated maybe for 40, 50 minutes, but they were very sloppy at the back, especially with the offside line, with Lenglet. Maybe should have had a penalty before halftime, could have changed the game. Missed the penalty right at the end with Douglas Luiz. So it was a bad night. How many times did a night like this happen to a team like Aston Villa? Well, we'll find out on Thursday. But it is true that, in fairness, many times in Europe this season they lost control of games quickly. Also in the games against Lille, in the games they played in Poland, in the qualification stages. So you can tell this is a quite new team on the stage, on the European stage. Sometimes with Villa, they seem to go a little bit with the autopilot and they are unable to react to circumstances. I guess in the game against Olympiacos at home, they had a script in their mind. They knew they were going to be stronger. If things didn't go their way, they kind of panic a little bit. Prince William was on the stand. It looked like a bit of a party atmosphere. And in the end, they ruined it, the Greek. But now Aston Villa got a chance, I think, to make things right. But of course, only 1 clean sheet in the past 9 games for Villa. Strange, because they won 2-0 at Arsenal, and after that, they lost momentum against Brighton. Only 2 shots, the fewest in the Premier League since 2016. The return of Martinez is a big boost, of course. Full week rest in Greece as well as in France. Great advantage for the Greeks, of course, going into a full rest. Aston Villa boosted by the fact that Spurs lost against Liverpool. So they're going to be in the Champions League next year. I like the Asian handicap -25 for Aston Villa, 174. I think they win this one. If they only draw, you suffer half a loss.
They were celebrating Easter in Greece, same as our friend Daniel in Bulgaria. Yes. Well, if you trust Aston Villa to qualify, it's a bit nuts, but who knows? It's 4.4. We saw worse things. For instance, as I said, the Olympiacos Maccabi Tel Aviv tie was something out of this world, but the normal thing would be seeing Olympiacos, perhaps Fiorentina, in the final of this conference. That is very interesting, to be honest, especially in the last rounds with these side teams looking for the glory. Again, our friend Tom Rennie was super happy with his West Ham winning last season, this competition. Well, Danny, you have a safe bet for these 4 games?
Bayer Leverkusen over 2.5 goals. The pace 179.
I am checking that you both see a lot of goals on Thursday, so we have to watch these 4 games. Alvaro, you also go for goals?
Yes, of course, but my safe bet will be Bayer Leverkusen to win 178, as the screen says. So let's go for that.
It's very good.
Okay, yeah, it's very, very good. Acá, Alvaro?
Yeah, Leverkusen to win, Atalanta, Marseille, both teams to score, Brugge, Fiorentina, both teams to score as well. A total of 5-18.
Okay, we have it in the screen. Alvros, in this case, is your Greek name. And Danny, your Acca.
Bayer Leverkusen, Roma, over 2.5 goals. Fiorentina, handicap 0. Aston Villa to win in Greece. Total 7.30.
Okay, well, a lot of Italian teams on Thursday, Europa League Conference League. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Thank you, Danny, Alvaro, and talk to you this week. Bye-bye.
Ευχαριστώ. Καλημέρα.